What's going on, everyone? My name is Dave, and welcome to our rapid match recap instant analysis of 2017 MLS Cup. Congratulations to Toronto FC, 2-0 victory over the Seattle Sounders. It happened Saturday, December 9th. Going to give you my pre-match thoughts, analyze the first and second half, and then just give an overview here. So let's jump right into things. Before the match, I was looking out for Josie. I watched the second leg. I know he went down with that awkward injury. I didn't know how that was going to affect him in this match, if he could go the full 90, if he was going to have any sort of ramifications from that. There wasn't any, but that was something I was looking out for before the match began. Also, Giovinco has, gotten this reputation for not performing, specifically in the cold weather, but in the playoffs over these last few years. Didn't know if he would be able to redeem himself from that perspective, so I was looking out for that. Overall, I thought this match was going to be between Seattle's defense and Toronto's attack. Seattle hadn't given up a goal all of playoffs. They've been one of the best defensive teams since, I believe, June or July in MLS. And Toronto has that ridiculous attack with Giovinco, Josie, and then Victor Vasquez. And so I thought that there was going to be a big battle between those two. Also, Dempsey for Seattle. I didn't know his impact on the match. He missed the final last year. He was obviously going to be motivated. I don't believe he's won any trophies in his career, so I thought he would be really motivated by that perspective. From that perspective, Seattle came out with a 4-2-3-1. I expected it to be more of a just straight 4-4-2 with Dempsey more floating up top, right underneath Will Bruin, but playing much closer to him. And so the surprise from Toronto was they also came out with a 4-4-2 diamond formation, though. And Seattle also was playing. So both teams in the midfield played, from my perspective, 4 center midfielders. So from both perspectives, I thought the match was going to be very condensed, or at least from the midfield on up top. I thought it was going to be tight in the center of the midfield. Didn't end up being the case. I thought that the outside backs would need to provide the width, and Toronto's outside backs definitely did that. Seattle's did not do that so much, and as you saw throughout the match, I thought Toronto just absolutely dominated them. Match started. Victor Vasquez was clearly, told to just float wherever he could find the ball, and he did a fantastic job of doing that, floating from side to side, dropping deep, and really the whole Toronto attack. And when they were possessing, everybody from Bradley, held his position, but everybody up and beyond Bradley was floating and getting into space and finding it way too easy in possession. And they were just doing a great job of interchanging. The Drew Moore miss in the second minute, I didn't know if that was going to come back to bite Toronto. You saw that with Houston versus Seattle, and he should have finished that, and ultimately it didn't amount to anything, but that was something that he really should have finished. Dempsey was floating kind of in a similar role to Vasquez, but he was not floating quite as much, and also he was staying a lot closer to Will Bruin, especially in the early on. You saw him dropping further and further back just to get involved in the match, because he wasn't involved as he would have been, but he was kind of playing a similar role to Vasquez from that perspective. Toronto was stronger side really throughout. Sebastian? I think it's Sebastian Fry. If it's not Sebastian Fry, maybe Stefan Fry. Sebastian Giovinco. Stefan Fry played fantastic. I mean, he kept Seattle in that match until Toronto scored the goal. He had, 3 fantastic saves early in the first half and just kept continuing throughout the half. I think he had 7 or 8 saves just in the first half. And they were difficult, sometimes awkward saves, and he really played fantastic. So he should keep his head held high. Toronto, on the first couple of corners, they were really trying to hit that near post on their corners. And I thought that it was effective, especially with the first one with the Drew Moore chance, but they just kept sort of targeting that near post, and it wasn't effective after that first time, and they ended up changing their tactics there. But they clearly saw something in Seattle's defense on corners that they wanted to exploit at the near post. Seattle looked nervous throughout. Lodero was missing touches. They just didn't look on the same page for their whole team, and so I thought that they just didn't look like they were ready to be there, or just Toronto was just doing a fantastic job. TFC just had tons of space. I thought they did an exceptional job of spacing in possession. So again, I was concerned before the match that they would be too narrow in possession, but that wasn't the case. They were getting tons of space, and they always had somebody open in possession, and Seattle just couldn't mark them. And when they were trying to mark them, they would lose a mark, and that they would be space for Toronto to exploit, and it was just way, way too easy for Toronto to get in there. Vasquez absolutely bossed the match throughout. Now, having said that, I thought Michael Bradley was the MVP, and he was fantastic. Defensive work, positionally, and maintaining possession, he was just insane. And so I'm recording this before they announced the MVP, but if Bradley doesn't get it, I think he was robbed. I could see maybe Vasquez being awarded it, but Bradley was far and away the best player on the field from my perspective. TFC was very, very patient in their build-up. They did a great job from that perspective. They created a ton of chances. Yes, there were chances from outside the box. They had shots that Stefan Fry, I keep wanting to call him Sebastian. Stefan Fry was able to save, and so they were somewhat half chances, but I thought that they did a good job of trying to find space and eventually getting good chances. Mavinga had a handful of really poor giveaways for Toronto in the first half, and then one or two in the second half too. I didn't know if it was nerves or if that's just how he normally plays, and I didn't know if that was going to cost Toronto. Didn't end up amounting too much. TFC was exceptional at snuffing out Seattle attacks and counterattacks. Seattle just could not get anything going. And it all started with Michael Bradley, but really the whole Toronto team was doing an exceptional job at just snuffing out the attacks before Seattle really could get anything going. Stefan Fry was best player for Seattle in the first half. Bradley and Vasquez, best players for Toronto in the first half. And really that was the case for both sets of players in the whole match. Second half started. So pretty much more of the same. I mean, there wasn't really anything to note. Now, Seattle was way too spread out, and Taylor Twellman pointed this out. I did have this written down before he pointed it out, but Torres and Marshall were just getting, I don't know if they were exhausted, if this was a tactical decision, but when Seattle was in attack, they were lagging way too far back, and Seattle was getting way too stretched north-south. When you're in possession, you want to stretch the opposition and create space, but you want it to be side to side so you can exploit that space from that perspective. But when you're stretched north to south, if you turn the ball over, there's acres of space for the opposition to get into. And, that Marshall and Torres lagging behind just allowed Toronto to really exploit that. And it really became apparent in the second half. 58th minute, the takedown of Leerdam. Leerdam took down, I don't remember exactly who it was. I thought it might have been a penalty, but I think ultimately it wasn't a penalty, and that was a good call from Chapman, the referee. Toronto's goal, because Toronto's the only one that ended up scoring. I thought that it was just a fantastic break, and it really involved all of Toronto's big players. So it actually started with a Seattle counterattack, and Toronto countered the counterattack. So Gagan counterattack or something along those lines. And really, they forced a turnover from Seattle. And then Bradley played it out to, I think it was Osorio or Delgado, who played it up to Vasquez, who played Giovinco into Josie. And it was all Toronto's big players involved in the same play. Josie made an exceptional run. Giovinco hit a great ball. It may have been a fraction offside, and it was kind of surprising to not see them go to assistant replay or video assistant referee. Having said that, I'm always a fan of giving the edge to attackers in tight calls, and so I'm fine with that not being called. And I don't know if it really was offside. The camera angle makes it really, really tough, and so I thought that it was just a great goal from Toronto and well finished from Josie on that perspective. So they did really, really well there. Morris on for Rodriguez. Seattle clearly bringing in some pace, trying to get a little bit more width out of it, and once Morris came on, he was playing a little bit higher, sometimes as a second striker to Will Bruin, sometimes more out wide. Really wasn't able to get much going, but you understood the tactical decision there. And so clearly, Seattle wanted to bring on some more pace and try to get some more width into it. When Hagelin came on for Josie, I thought that was a bold call from Toronto. They were so effective with that 4-4-2 diamond formation, and bringing on Hagelin for Josie conceded that, all right, we're going to go 5 in the back. We're just going to sit back and we're going to let Seattle come onto us. And we're just going to try to defend in the air, defend the crosses. And so it was a bold call, because after making that switch, Seattle definitely had more attack. They had more chances than they had all match. And ultimately it didn't amount to anything. But I thought that was a bold sort of nervy decision. I would have been nervous making that decision because Toronto was so effective with the formation they were playing. But, they did a great job there. 90th minute, I personally thought that was a penalty. I know Healy and Twellman, who were calling it in the U.S., said that it wasn't a penalty, but I thought Roldan clearly came across Giovinco and knocked him down before getting the ball. And so I was surprised that it wasn't a penalty. But again, I thought Chapman, the referee, had a fantastic match, so I don't want to call him out too much. The last goal, I mean, Toronto earned it. I mean, they earned the victory. And really, it just came about from Seattle just committing too many numbers forward and really going for it. So not much else to really analyze from that perspective. I mean, it was a great finish. Just from the perspective of, the Victor Vasquez story, him coming back from injury and the whole Barcelona connection and all of that. So it was fantastic for him to get that goal, and he played exceptional in the match. Again, I'm recording this before MVP is announced. My MVP, clear and away, Michael Bradley, although I could see a slight case being made for Victor Vasquez. Toronto FC, congratulations, MLS Cup champions 2017. They were the best team in the league by far this year. One of the best, if not the best, team in MLS history, definitely one of the best in MLS modern history. So with that is my rapid match recap. If you agree with my analysis, if you disagree, if you have any other thoughts, please let me know in the comments section. I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.